So this is it. This is the last 4 tutorials to complete our 100 painted rocks for Halloween. So first up, we are going to do our Boo Dangle designs. Now, depending on the top of your rock, you're going to create a place for all of your dangles to be hanging from. I like to kind of make it the width of the rock almost as far as I can, and then add something to weigh down the ends. Once you've got that top line on there, you can decorate that line a little bit if you want to with other little flourishes. Just remember, every little circle and spot you make, you're going to add a pop of color at the end. So place these little dots all over the place. Now for our Boo dangles, we are going to write the word Boo on each one of these somewhere. So I'm making it nice, normal lettering, and then I'm going just thicken up those letters so that they are going to be wide enough that I can come back with an extra fine tip paint pen with the color and go right down the center. So I don't have to try to outline my letters. I'm just doing a thicker letter, and you'll see how we fill that in a little bit. So I've got my B-O-O onto my rock, and then I'm just going to have fun adding in these fun dangle designs. There's literally endless things you can do here. I just have a few things that I keep in mind. I always like to have a weight or something heavy at the bottom. It just visually makes it make sense. You can do themed stuff. So like on this one, I'm adding like a candy corn along that one as well. And over here, I'm going to do a little spider hanging on this dangle. Just add dangles slowly to your design. If you get too much going on, it can get a little crazy on your eyes when you come back through. Once I've added color, sometimes I'll come back and add a few more dangles, but leave it a little more airy than you might think at first, because again, you can always come back and add more. Now this was a vertical designed Boo here that we were doing, and now I'm going to show you the layout of a horizontal style one, but I will speed up some of that process a little bit more. But again, I am making my letters thicker on here, and I'm having them each dangle down from the top. I am going to add little designs going down from each of them, and then I'm going to come back and work my way left to right to add little swirls, dips, and dangles. This design I kept with just dots because I wanted one that was a little more simple to fill in. Now give that plenty of time to dry, and then we're going to start filling in our designs. And I'm using extra fine tip paint pens here. I'm just dotting into the circles, and then I am going to draw right down the center of our bigger letters. If you don't have extra fine tip paint pens, you can use dotting tools to fill in these designs, or even a toothpick with acrylic paint as well. You just dot into each one of the circles, or you can place the paint and kind of drag it with the tip into the shapes of the letters, or if you're doing a design like the candy corn on here. So I just alternate back and forth between the paint pen colors until I've got the colors I like kind of spread across the design. Once you have it all filled in, if you see an area that you think just needs another bit of color, like on that swirl I wanted some more, and between my Boo letters I wanted dots, just add the dots in, let them dry, come back and add that last pop of color. Somebody suggested a red spot on my spider, so we added that as the final touch. You can pause here to see all the different designs. Let's paint some eyeballs. We are going to do these in sets of 3, so depending on the shape of your rock, you can stack them together like this. You can even stack them up and put them in a martini glass like this viewer did. No matter which way you do it, just get one light coat down, filling them in. You're going to need a second coat, so don't worry about putting it on thick. Once that first layer is dry, we're going to come back and do a second layer on the eyeballs, but we're only going to do it on the outer edges of the eyes. We're going to leave the space we're going to add color to without that second white coat. This will help you decide which way your eyes are going to be looking. And you also want to decide which way your eyeballs are going to stack, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more here soon. Now I do go out of order here. I'll talk about that later. For now, we're going to talk about coloring your eyeball colors. So on one of these rocks, I'm going to do a little bit more details, but as you can see, I'm doing a whole batch. And so this is a extra step. If you're doing like 1 or 2, maybe you want to add. But if you're doing a whole bunch, you don't need to add this detail. It looks fine without it. So we're just taking our extra fine tip paint pen and going with gray and then another color to give those stripes in the eyes. Now you could do this with a dark blue and a light blue, dark green, light green, so on and so forth. Unlimited color combinations. But as I said before, I'm going to do a whole batch of these, so I wasn't super particular about those minute details, so you can do them with a plain color as well. Now this is when we're going to go back to talking about that lining. So you should outline your eyeballs first, that way you know how they're going to stack in case that color maybe would end up underneath another eyeball. And you'll see here in my trios, I'll put one with the third eyeball in the middle underneath the outside two, and the other one, I put it in front of the other two. So it can really change the way that the rock looks in the end. Now, once you have your eyeballs on there, the colors on there, they've dried, we're gonna add our pupils in. And then we're going to add on some bloodshot eyes. So I like to make Y shapes, V shapes, hash lines. Make sure they're bumpy. If they get a little bit thick on you, that's okay. We can come back with our white extra fine tip and thin them out, or you can even thin them out as they get closer to the colored portion of your eye. Now we're going to take these up a notch and add just a little bit of shadowing to create the stacked effect on our stones. So we're just going to use our black paint pen and the littlest bit of water. I'm talking very, very small amount of water here. We're going to put a couple dots of our paint. This is water-based paint, and then we're just going to wiggle with our brush to create a shadow. Now, once you get a little bit of paint on your brush, you're going to be able to move it back and forth. You can add a little bit more water. Just take your time with this. You can add more shadow if you want into like dark crevices, like when all three are stacked, there might be like a darker corner. You can make that even a darker shadow. Make sure to come back and touch up though the white on the top eyeball. You don't want any of that shadow to spill over. If it leaks over the line, come back and clean that edge up. Last but not least, you just need to add a couple highlights. You could do 1 or 2 depending on how big your eye is, and then they're done. Next up, we're going to do these super adorable bats. I haven't done these bats in a really long time, at least not a full batch of them, so I'm glad we did them this year. We're going to give it a nice big head and a small little body, and then we're going to create our wing span. And I'm just going to go as wide as I can, and then I'm going to create a curve on either end of my line. Now, you just want to try to mirror what you do on each side. As well as possible. Now, these are not anatomically correct bats. I do not know how many joints bats have, so you can kind of just play around with this. I don't care. If you care, you can look it up. So I did a peak along the top, and we're going to do one along the bottom. And the bottom one I usually drop a little bit lower, but you can also play with the shape of your wings based on the size of your rock and the shape of your rock. So I'm going to place these wings down as even as possible. Then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to fill them all in solid black. And once it's filled in, you can really kind of see if you need to adjust your lining at all. But fill in the wings and the body. Before you fill in the head, go ahead and outline 2 circles for your eyes. That way you don't have to put your white paint right on top of your black paint. I have a white rock, so this is just easier. I like my eyes to be giant. Basically as big as I can outline inside the head is what I'm going to make for my eyes. And then fill in the rest of that negative space black. Don't forget your ears, just 2 little points on either edge of the head. So I am going to show a couple more wingspans here just so you can see they might all look just a little bit different. Once it's filled in, you can kind of adjust the way your wings look a little bit, but I try to just at least do one point down and 1 point up, and then when you fill it in, play around. Let them dry completely and then come back and add in your whites for your eyes. And I don't mind if my eyes are different shapes. I kind of do it on purpose. It's easier to make it purposefully, one big and one small, than try to make them the same size and they just don't look the same size. So fill in your whites, come back, add in pupils, and then the last touch is a cute little highlight on the bats. So for the highlight, we're just using an extra fine tip paint pen and we're just dotting in the upper right hand corner of the pupil. And these guys are just super cute. And none of them look alike. They all got their own little character to them. We are on to our final tutorial. We are going to do our zombie rocks. So the first thing you need to do is put your zombie heads onto your stones. You can do 1 zombie, 2 zombies, a bigger head, smaller head, whatever the shape of your rock will let you do. Then we're going to have some bodies. We can't have floating heads, so I just do an upside down U shape and then fill in with a solid color. Play around with different colored shirts. I've got blue, purple, orange, all sorts of them. Take time to do a second coat if you need to. These extra fine tip paint pens on their sides work really well for that second coat. Now we're going to add on our brains. So as you can see here, I'm using a swirling motion. We don't want any straight lines on our brains, but you can really make them flow however you want. I usually have them spilling over to one side of the head. You can have some dripping down onto the forehead as well. I give each one of my zombies one white eye. And then I'm going to start lining my outfit. So you can use as many details as you want on here, but I do like to put a few lines down, dab it with my finger, and then dab it around a little bit. It gives it this like grungy look. Make sure you reline things if you do that though, because you are pulling up a good amount of that paint and you want nice crisp lines. You can add little stitches and marks on your outfit, and then I did come back and add a couple lines on either side so you have arms if you want arms. Play around with this. You can do as much detail as you want. For the second eye, I just place an X on, and then somewhere along the line I added these pupils. I missed that somehow in the edit. Now for the mouths, you can see here you can have a tooth hanging out, you can have it kind of gaping open, or you can just have plain simple frown faces. Now let's line the brains. What you want to do is you want to come along your curvy edge and then curl your line back into the pink every once in a while to create this brain look. So just go along the outer edge and then curl back into your brains, and you'll get this really neat texture. Make sure you outline the rest of your head, and then you can play around with details. Like I have some hair sometimes sticking out to the side. You can add a scar or a stitch of some sort on the cheek if you want to. So I'm going to show you one more time, one more brain. This is definitely the trickiest part of the tutorial, but once you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy to do. Again, just follow along the outside edge and then bump into your pink every once in a while to create those brain curls. So I hope you enjoyed all 20 tutorials that we got through in this series. You definitely should have enough inspiration to paint loads of Halloween rocks this year. Follow for the next series.